Everyone is on Caleb Williams, number one overall prospect for everybody except one person. His name is Nate Tice.
Oh, that's fair. There's others. There's dozens of us.
Dozens. It's
There's
a
dozens of us.
goddamn movement.
There's some May, and I've seen some Jane Daniels thrown in there, which is like to me is the hottest scorcher of hot takes. This is how I've had to clarify it. It's a 1A, 1B situation for me. I freaking love Caleb as well. I love Caleb Williams. I think he's a stud. Got to break him down like a month ago for Yahoo. Not like a month ago for Yahoo. And just came away even more impressed than I was going in as far as accuracy, what he could do from the pocket. The thing is, May has been kind of my guy since day one. And since last May, when no pun intended, but since last May, when I first studied these guys full on, watching their 2022 tape, it's like this Drake May looks like the guys that the elite quarterbacks look like right now, as far as size, as far as arm talent, as far as aggressiveness. Not that Caleb isn't. I just think May kind of is more so, and I could see a kind of a cleaner path there, even if it's the kind of takeaways the last month that have kind of driven me crazy is that he's further away, which we can get into if we want. But every time I've had to kind of bring this up on a show, like a mock draft or a big board or anything, it kind of rekindles. Like, because it's been May 1A since September on everything. So I do a mock and I have him the first pick. And then it's like my Twitter mentions rekindle for a little bit. And then about a month, it goes away for about 6 weeks. And then I do another mock or another big board. And then it rekindles again. Oh, you're the May guy? Okay. And it goes away. So I updated my big board, comes out Monday. I thought this would happen on Friday. They released it on Monday. So yeah, the guy. So there's the scorcher of a hot take. That's just like I've kind of reconciled with it already. I'm like, yeah, I'm good with this. I'm at peace. So I'm at peace with it all, I guess, because I just think these two quarterbacks, May and Williams, are just prizes. And I think others have I've been weirded by the takes a little bit that people are watching this and coming away differently because I think it's kind of clearly so about what they could become.
So tell me what you mean by weirded.
I think there's people are getting scared off about a couple misses he has, and because he is an ugly misser, I call it, like just like a fastball pitcher or even Justin Herbert in the NFL is a good comparison for this. They won't miss often, but when they do, it's about 10 yards wide, or they're a line drive thrower, so it just misses hard as opposed to misses often. So it's a bad miss. And I think that's been sticking out in people's head. So there's been kind of a narrative about him is that he's this pocket passer that's not athletic and just stands there and sprays the ball over the yard, good or bad, and misses. Like he's just an unaimed tank, howitzer tank. And I think it's different. I think he's a fantastic athlete, like a really good athlete. And I think that's what people have been missing about him. I think that he's has a clear projection because he's already shown enough mentally, physically to be a good quarterback. And I already think he has a high floor. And it's just funny that others are going like, yeah, he can't fix it. It's like, he's already doing it. I don't know what we're talking about here. I think the little negatives are getting kind of extrapolated as opposed to all the positives that he can bring to the table.
You would agree, though, that it's definitely safer to take Williams as a front office, right,
Yes.
than it would be to take May.
Yes. I
Okay.
completely understand taking Williams one.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is they're both graded highly for me. So it's not like me going like, oh, they're so dumb. I think I totally get it. And I'm talking about optics. So yeah, I totally understand that. And there originally was some negatives about Caleb about he's too much of a runaround guy, like he's not too much in pocket. The more you dive into him, he's a different animal completely than Justin Fields. So it's not like, oh my God, we just shipped Justin Fields off and we're drafting the exact same guy. That would be Jaden Daniels, but not Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is his own type of thing. So as if I were the front office of the Bears, that would be the easiest one to sell. And I totally get it because he has that mega star potential. Like I think both of these guys do, but Williams does too, of course.
Well, I guess that becomes the conversation, right? If you are in the front office and look, you come from a football family, you know
Yeah.
these conversations as intimately as anybody. If you're the coach, if you're in the front office, there's no upside in drafting Drake May. Like the difference between them, as you say, is either minuscule or the difference between them is an ocean wide gulf. And in either case, you need to take the Caleb Williams pick because that is the one where it is unreproachable. Like you will not get fired for taking Caleb Williams in
Yeah.
2 years. He will
But
have the
there's
benefit of the doubt.
And yeah, there's also just the optics of it of what you sell. If the entire contingent of the Bears went to Drake May's pro day and Keenan Allen's there, high five and everything, everyone goes, God, check out May. Because as of December, it was not a big gulf between these two. There were several like people that had May just the same. There was an article written by Charles Robinson, my peer at Yahoo. I should say peer, but my coworker at Yahoo. And he, in that article, they were saying this is going to be a tight battle through April, but also it's just what's told and what's the optics of all of it. So I'm saying if they send that entire contingent to Jaden Daniels, everyone will go, man, yeah, the Heisman Trophy winner, totally get it, totally get it, because we've seen the exact same thing happen with Bryce Young, who I'm still stunned was the #1 pick. We've seen the entire thing happen with the Steelers going like, hey, we're whining and dining 3 different quarterbacks, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell. Kenny Pickett's our guy. We love him because he's right next door. And everyone goes, of course, Kenny Pickett's the first guy taken. No one remembers that was a battle for #2 pick the year before that. Zach Wilson. It was a tight battle between 3 different guys. And all of a sudden, Zach Wilson, by December, Joe Douglas is telling everyone that Zach Wilson's their guy. And everyone goes, well, of course, Zach Wilson's the second best guy. It's kind of just, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy as what you sell. But I do say, it's like, yes, going in, I mean, the narrative during the season after the Notre Dame game was, oh my God, is this guy going to be a franchise quarterback? What if Bears contingent's like, yeah, keep hyping that up. We don't like him, actually. We don't like him. That's kind of just how the game kind of works behind the scenes too. That's just kind of my other way to look at this is if they sent the whole contingent to that World Pro Day and May did what he did, the people that are like May people will go, oh yeah, obviously he's been the guy. Size, that's what Ryan Poles likes. It's just kind of what you're going to argue for that.
Yeah.
And I'll say for Nate,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Simon.
I'll say Nate's not one of these people in media that, I've seen your stuff for the years. You don't just put stuff out there because you are, friends with the agents of these guys. And
No.
Even go back to your draft last year, you were one of the few people like me who had CJ at 1 and then Richardson at #2. Or at some point you flip-flop those guys. There was never a time where I think most people were just, it felt like in media were just lying where they were like, no, Bryce Young is a slam dunk #1 guy. He should be the #1 pick. Where I think a lot of people shrouded the line where I was the extreme where I was like, no, Bryce Young's a second-round pick. And I took tons of heat for that, which I'm sure you're dealing with the same thing now with Drake May, which is like fans of these schools. So, guys who are diehard fans of Williams, they're going to be in your mentions. They're going to be commenting on anything you post, which I dealt with Alabama people with Bryce Young. They're just like, you don't know ball. You don't watch college football. And it's like, I don't, but I watch film. I think anyone scouting these guys watch film. So it is interesting hearing your take because you've had the time to go through it all and you're still dug in on Drake May, which I can't fault you for it. Like you are seeing something, you believe in him in a way that, like you said, the difference isn't that big between him and Williams. It's just your preference. If you were in the spot and the owner said to you, who do you prefer here? And it's your job as a scout, you would say it's 1A, 1B, but I do have Drake as 1A. Now, these kind of moments are career builders where if you hit that right and they take the other way, that GM gets fired, you could be the next guy in line to take his job because you were right on that 1A, 1B position. Yep. Or you hit this wrong and he's going to be side-eyeing you, or you have to leave that organization because in 10 years, you're going to be in the same exact spot. So what you're doing here, it is bold in NFL terms, where someone like me, I'm doing the coward way. Yeah. I have Daniels just slightly ahead of Drake May. Like you just said, my 1A, 1B for them. I just respect that Daniels, again, this is not a knock on Drake May, and I'm sure you've heard this from scouts. Apparently, he is not the most coachable guy in all football, right? Like he again, I'm not saying he's not coachable, but what I've heard from Daniels is incredibly well at being coached, where a coach could tell him to do something and he'll correct it. He'll work on his footwork. He'll work on his arm throwing. May is going to have to work on his footwork and his throwing style. Have you thought about all that when you're evaluating these quarterbacks? Or are you just like, his talent level is so high, I don't really care about that stuff. He'll be able to coach, be coached how to use his feet and how to work on his arm angle.
Yeah. Well, first, the first thing you said is like, yeah, I try to be completely independent of listening to anybody. And I think that's it's a fallacy that a lot of us fall into. And what I've seen as I joined media, it's like, just stick with your guns. Just stick with your opinion. Just because other people like guys, everyone, like if you go into scouting room, there's 9 different opinions on a guy.
Yeah.
There's 9 different reports. You think there's a consensus? There's never one. I've seen some of the most outlandish grades on guys, and that would just be like people in the like would just lose their minds. It's like these are NFL teams that come up with this, but I think the last year was a good learning lesson because I had people going like, well, you liked Young. And I go, well, I wasn't killing him, but it was like, it was pretty obvious who I preferred. I was saying like, yeah, I wouldn't do it, but I guess if this, you want, this is what you prefer, because again, this is the whole argument sense where people are bringing up, say, the S2 test or saying what he was accomplishing post after the Steph Curry comparisons and all that, those types of things. And the number one thing that stood out to me was the size outlier. And they're saying that the risk of taking a legit, like literal historical outlier, not just in the first round, but number one overall and trading up for him. Like to me, that was just like, no freaking way would I ever do that in a million years. Stroud, even to me, even if you don't love him, it's like that's the safe one. But it was just, to me, it was the safe one with upside. To me, it was an easy number one pick to take. And then Richardson was the home run swing, but that had a lot of other stuff underneath. So to me, it was like, those are what flavor you want, not the historical outlier. And I think when I've gone to this year and watching Maye, is he does the things that the good ones do and the stuff that's hard to teach. And I know what you're saying with the coachability stuff. That's also a kind of who watches the Watchmen situation for me, is who some of these coaches are terrible sources. Some of these scouts are terrible sources. And that's why I come away when I watch, and it's hard, but then when I watch him on film, I see him handling protections from an offense that was giving him no help. Never having to look to his sideline for help. He was handling it all on his own. Not that it was the most complicated offense, given no help as far as surroundings and answers and everything. I wouldn't be coachable too if I thought my coaches were idiots. Like that. Like that's the other side of this coin. I wouldn't say Phil Longo 2 years ago. I think he's fine, not just because he's Wisconsin's offense coordinator now, but it's also this year's OC. It's kind of like this. I know you kind of know it when you see it. What's a good situation? What's a bad situation? So for me, I'm watching Maye. Is he competitive? Is he tough? I've been around quarterbacks that some people call moody. Even ones that we would consider really nice guys are some of the most moody guys you've ever been around because they're psycho-competitive. They have no time for us mortals kind of thing, So that's what, again, this is the optimist view of it. But the game that always sticks out to me is the NC State game where they're getting their asses kicked. North Carolina is. And he runs in a touchdown, and I think it gets called back. And I've told the story twice, so I should really check my facts here. But he runs in for a touchdown, and I think it gets called back. And he freaking basically, you could see him get ticked off. And on the very next play, you can see him kind of spin the ball and kind of just channel. And on the very next play, he throws a freaking heat-seeking missile, just through two guys and goes for a touchdown. But it was like he channeled that competitiveness. And again, I see the good guys do this. The good quarterbacks know how to channel that and put the freaking team on their back. And again, that's why I think Caleb and Maye do that. Just because I've seen Caleb in different ways, but they put over and over the Duke game and all that. So when I watch him, yes, I am being glass half full with a lot of stuff, but I think because of the athleticism, because of his work ethic that I know about, because of his competitive nature, I think he's going to work at those little blemishes because I've already seen improvement. And I think it's just going to keep going. I'm not saying Disco Stew, straight, always going to just go up, but I do think he has more likelihood to improve. There's some kind of NBA thinking here. It was kind of that projection of some guys. I always come back to Zach LaVine or somebody like that. It's like they have athleticism and competitiveness. That gives them more path to grow than a guy that's, maxed out or totally polished like a Jane Daniels who's been started 50-something games. Yes, he's athletic, but I don't know mechanically if I can fix anything. This is him. This is what I'm drafting. So that's kind of the different side of the coin.